Back in November of 2016, Frontier Developments released the latest and greatest roller coaster simulator game, Planet Coaster. A game filled with loads of opportunities to build whatever the hell you wanted to. You could build roller coasters that reach thousands of feet in the air, ones that look similar to real life ones, or ones that are literally ones from real life. Coasters that would take your breath away, or coasters that would probably take your life away, and so much more. And considering before this we just had the classic, roller coaster tycoon games, this was a massive step up. Graphics wise, playability wise, and just overall with the coasters and rides, realism too. It was a fantastic game. And 8 years later, as you all very much know, especially if you've been following my channel, which if you aren't already then please subscribe, a sequel to the game is releasing in the form of Planet Coaster 2, which is adding water parks and even more roller coaster features. But considering this is sort of the end of the road for Planet Coaster 1, I wanted to take this opportunity to look back at some of my previous projects and the things that I've done, the challenges that I've done as well, and just rewind a bit and take a look at them all. So technically, you could call this my tribute to Planet Coaster 1, I guess. Now, as much as my memory isn't the greatest, and obviously I was quite young at the time when Planet Coaster 1 released, because it was 2016, so I would have been 12. Oh my god. What I do remember is playing the game from sort of my computer downstairs and it being really, really laggy and half of the graphics wouldn't load in and everything. It'd just be black textures everywhere. But they did release that beta and alpha to play before the game officially released, and honestly, it was such an upgrade from Roller Coaster Tycoon. I remember seeing the RMC model and thinking like, oh my god, we've never had something like that in this game before, and like trying to build so many different ones of them and some other coaster types as well, just messing around really. And then eventually when I got my own PC to play the game, I could actually see the textures for once as well, but I started creating my own custom theme parks and just making loads of well-themed rides and sort of embedding them into stories and all that jazz. But I would always take inspiration from a real life ride to make my own ones, and they basically started looking like real life coasters. So I sort of sat there and thought, well, if I'm making similar things to them, I would think it's quite satisfying if I remade them exactly. And this is where my recreation saga began, if you want to call it that, I guess. Because pretty much all I did from a certain point on this game was build recreations. And funnily enough, the first two that I did, I'd actually never ridden or been to the parks that have them. So that was pretty stupid. But my first ever one was Hang Time at Knott's Berry Farm. It was a brand new ride in 2018, a Gerstlauer Infinity Coaster, and it looked really, really fun. And I wanted to make it in Planet Coaster. And it turned out okay, because it wasn't very smooth, which is the story of every single ride I made back then. And it probably wasn't 100% accurate. Neither was Twisted Cyclone, which I also tried to make from Six Flags, because again, that was brand new and I really wanted to remake it. So yeah, they were both pretty decent rides. And then came my first UK roller coaster recreation, and what could it be? I could have chosen any huge scale roller coaster. No, I chose Spinball Whizzer at Alton Towers. And this one turned out pretty well too, I got the layout pretty much spot on. There was no block sections and the colours were a bit wrong. The pathway down in the plaza was awful, but the pathing system in the game was awful, so I'll take that. And yeah, you could definitely tell this was the start of me making recreations. From there, I continued to work on my own little parks that I would never finish. I made a few other smaller recreations, such as Stealth at Thorpe Park. That was one of my favourite ones to make too. Nightmare at Camelot, another ride I'd never done before, but I thought, you know what, it looked really cool, I want to build that. Untamed I did actually recreate, but that never saw the light of day on YouTube or anything like that. Nemesis Inferno as well, started that. And then one that I did take a lot of time to do was the brand new for 2018 Icon at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. This was my first large-scale recreation where I wanted to do the entire ride layout, and bear in mind Icon is a huge ride, and I wanted to do all the station and queue line as well, and I just really wanted to take a lot of time with this one, and I guess it sort of paid off. I mean, obviously I look at it now and I think, oh, I could have done so much better, but you know, it was good for the time. But from that point came a lot more detailed recreations too. The Swarm at Thorpe Park, that was one of my favourite ones I've ever done, even to this day. And then on top of all of these different Thorpe Park ones, I actually did start making a Thorpe Park recreation, which was huge, and it was going to take me years, probably. And I say that, but literally a thing on this channel was the fact that I never finished my Colossus recreation, and it is still not finished right now. 16 million likes and I will build it before Planet Coaster 2 comes out. I am very thankful for that recreation because it gave me the idea during the COVID pandemic to make a Thorpe Park new coaster challenge on the back of Swarm Island, and all of the entries to that were so good, as they were for the 2 challenges that followed in the years after, both Alton Towers new coaster challenges. And honestly, all 3 of these were so much fun to host and to just see everyone's creations, like the RMC on the back of Swarm Island. I hope that happens one day because that would be amazing. And then the Galactica car park and Project Horizon ones, some of those creations were some of the best things I've ever seen in Planet Coaster. Maybe there will be some more challenges in the new game, which would be cool, but I won't promise anything. But if you want to see that, then let me know. In between those challenges, I was actually working alongside some of my friends and also other creators within the Planet Coaster community to work on a few collaborative parks. Community Canyon was the first, where we sort of built separate parts of the park, and I built this steampunk area with like a S&S Axis coaster and a powered coaster as well. That was a very stressful time. I have never had so little time to build something in Planet Coaster, but that turned out amazingly, as did the Small Park Challenge. The park that started off as a nice budget family theme park, and I made it have Big Thunder Mountain in it. So I definitely extended that budget a bit too much. And then one you may have seen snippets of, but not a lot of at all, was a park that a few of my mates and myself worked on, and that was called Fantasy Van, and it had loads of different rides. I made like a 2 Tatis-esque ride with a swing launch, because, you know, you can definitely do that in Planet Coaster 1, and so much more. I do love a collaboration project. Maybe there'll be one in Planet Coaster 2. Besides all of that, there was a few more challenges that I did myself as videos, sort of just, you know, renovating old rides or RMCing the Wicker Man and random stuff like that. But that was genuinely because I loved having challenges in that game, and now I'm sure you'll see a lot of those types of ones in Planet Coaster 2 as well. But as the years went by, of course, we got closer to the year 2024, and that year was going to be a massive year in real life for the UK theme park industry, which is why I took it upon myself to try and recreate all of the different new roller coasters that were coming in that year in Planet Coaster before they've even been built. Hyperia was the first one I did, and that actually turned out quite well because we seemed to know everything about that before it was built. There was a few things that were a bit off, but you know, I've recreated it in Planet Coaster 2 since, so you should go watch that when this video's done. Drayton Manor's new coaster Gold Rush I tried to remake as well, Legoland's Minifigure Speedway, those 2 coasters, and of course Nemesis Reborn. I'd say Reborn was probably one of my favourites to do, although it took the longest for sure. But the one thing, the best thing I think I've ever made in Planet Coaster to this date, and forever because I'm not going to build anything on this game anymore, was my recreation of the brand new for 2024 at Europa Park, Voltron Nevera. I knew that was the final recreation because it just sort of put together everything I'd learned over the course of like the past 8 years, and I put in so much more effort into this one. And I know it's not the best thing that anyone's ever done because, oh my god, some of the things people have made in this game are incredible, but for me personally, this is my favourite thing I have made. And that was when I said that I was going to quit Planet Coaster, all because I knew Planet Coaster 2 was coming and I was waiting for that moment it got announced. Oh, I got you there, didn't I? But I am really glad that I ended off with that recreation. The amount of different builds I've done and the amount of videos I've made on Planet Coaster, it's been an absolute joy to play. Whether it be the neck-breaking rides or the actual realistic ones, I've absolutely loved it. And it is sort of a bittersweet ending, isn't it? Because Planet Coaster 2 is very much on the horizon and Planet Coaster 1 is over. Goodbye.